Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters San Jose, day number 2 of our 4 days of coverage coming up over the 5 days that we've got this week. If you're confused, no more, you don't need to be, because Friday is our day off. We're doing the open brackets on day 1, the group stages today, just the first 2 matches of each group, and then tomorrow, a day off, and then Saturday we'll move on to complete the group stages, and on Sunday we'll have all of the playoffs right through to the grand final. So, last game of the day. And it's a big one for America because QXC is in action against Bomber. It's a tough call for him, this group. It's a really tough group for him, but it was always going to be that way, no matter which group he fell into. There was always going to be, really tough players to play against. Do you think that the way that this group has fallen for him, though, is actually okay? No.
No. You and Roddy are just setting this up for me to fail and me.
No. I have no idea what you mean. We've not colluded at all.
I think it's a very difficult group, obviously, here for QXC. I mean, he has to face Bomber, who's the king of TvT, and then he would have to play one of those top Korean Protosses. So obviously he's going to be the underdog, but he's a guy who works tremendous amounts and who does his homework and prepare very well for tournaments.
Does do that, yeah, absolutely. Prepares very well indeed. And as you said, if he does manage to get through, he plays hero. If he loses, he plays super. So either way around, it's a tough game against a Korean Protoss. So just got to focus on one game at a time. Look at Bomber and examine where his maybe chinks in the armor are, and he can just get in there and maybe do something a bit funky. I mean, I don't know. QXC is capable of doing these things.
Definitely, but overall, he's more of a standard player that will just try to outplay. In the longer game, maybe usually try to get a build lead is the minimum, when you're a programmer that prepares very well. So surely he has that in plans, and there's actually quite a bit of content from Bomber to study out there in terms of TvT.
Yeah. There's also a bit of content out of here where he was maxed out after 12 minutes. Which would worry me. If I was going long game, if I was thinking long game against Bomber, I'd be thinking, no, that's not a smart move.
The thing is, even though Bomber is great in TvT, maybe there's some patterns in his play, like he likes to, for example, play either mech or bio on some maps, likes to open more often than not away or another on another map. So if QXC is able to pick up on that, he can just try to hard counter from the start, in which case, if he's able to do it, he's going to be in a good position to possibly win.
Let's talk about Bomber as a year in 2014. Got to BlizzCon last year, of course, in 2013, but didn't go as far as he wanted. Nearly went all the way this year, but again, just fell a little bit short. What is it in his game that makes him fall just that little bit short of being world champion? I mean, terrific player this year and has had a fabulous season as well. And we talked last year about the fact that he, for the first time, had won a tournament in 2 years and all the rest. But we don't talk about Bomber, the lore of Bomber anymore. The lore of Bomber is that he wins tournaments now.
Bomber is one of the hardest workers in the scene. He also has a great etiquette and attitude about how to practice. He takes losing very well. I've never seen him get mad and smash his keyboard like some other people would. And actually, I didn't even realize I was going to mention that in this match. It just came up now, but he takes losing better than other people. He will always, say GG, accept the loss, move on, but at the same time, learn from his mistakes. And I think that's such a great quality to have when you're a StarCraft pro gamer. And that's what makes him so strong at the same time. And actually, to me, it's so interesting that a few years back, when I was in Korea, he was talking a lot about retiring and joining the army, and then in the end he decided to postpone that quite a bit, and he stuck with it. And even though he's, I guess, old of age for a pro gamer, he's still doing it. I really thought that past a certain age it becomes too hard. Maybe it was just for me, but
me too.
He still does very well. Well, he's 26, 27,
coming up 27 in January. God. Yeah, so I mean, it is incredible how he's sort of. I said this before, and I don't know whether you agree with this because you're closer to his age than I am, but we don't really know when pro gamers are supposed to retire yet. I mean, the reason they've retired in the past is military, it's family life, it's home life, it's real life, it's money, it's jobs. Now we're much more professional and players are earning the kind of money that they can not just get by on, but can actually do well and live well. I mean, those obstacles have now gone, other than, the obvious stuff in real life. But now if that's their job, if that's their profession, we still don't really know when the right age to retire is. I mean,
what are you saying? You want to plug in your keyboard and mouse and try to qualify for WCS
I might just go and play in Challenger next season. I might do it.
Right,
From Gold to Challenger. That's the new stream title.
I'm looking forward to that.
I think my days are definitely done. I think when you're in your 40s, that's probably a little bit too late.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, Grubby's 29, White Round's 32, I think, Neste's 32. I mean, these players are still around, they're still playing well, they're still at the highest level. So I don't know when the right age to retire is.
Actually, yeah, I used to think it's like a little bit, I guess, younger for StarCraft 2, at least, which is the most competitive game in esports, let's be honest. I used to think it's like maybe 24, you know, 25. But if Bomber's 27 and still winning tournaments and like he has had a sick year, I could even see him continue doing that next year, you know.
I mean, Hyun is only a day either younger or older. Actually, I can't remember whether he's older or younger, but it's 1 day. There's 1 day between them in birthdays, and he's still winning tournaments as well. And they're looking forward to 2015 in the same way as everyone else is. So, I mean, you mentioned that, you know, Bomber's got this great etiquette, the way that he practices and the ethos behind how he works. It's kind of interesting that he is one of the older players, and maybe that's from that maturity that helps bring that through.
He knows his strengths and weaknesses very well as well, because, you know, when you get older, what happens also, I say when you get older, you know, when you go past maybe 25 and you've been pro gaming for a long time, it's very hard to keep up with the practice of these youngsters that can play so many hours. And also, I guess you start slowing down a little bit, and Bomber is fully aware of that, so he has adapted his style to it. Rather than trying to multitask everywhere and do what he can do, he sticks with one main big chunk of army that he walks around with and crush nerds.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very similar to other sports in a way. By the way, if you're wondering why we're not getting on with the game, we've got a small technical issue which we're fixing, which is why we're waffling a little bit. But it's very interesting, I think, because it does have some similarities with real sports. When you're a footballer, for instance, if you've played as a footballer all the way through to your like early 30s, you'll probably have played pretty much the same way. But at some point, the legs get a bit longer and the breath gets a bit harsher and it becomes harder to do the things you did. And so what you do is you find a different style or a different position to play, and you can be just as effective in the team. Steven Gerrard, for instance, at Liverpool is a great example of that. And I see similarities with esports players.
Yeah, I didn't know about that.
You didn't?
Like, what position did you...
So he used to play in centre midfield, but he was much more of an attacking force. He was more like an attack midfielder, if you like, and he would go forward.
So he played
score lots of goals.
goalkeeper
Now he's behind the goal. No, he's more of a defensive midfielder now,
Okay.
and he's sitting in front of the back four. He's protecting the back four, but he's a fantastic passer of the ball. And passing doesn't really get worse the older you get. It's just the speed at which you play the game gets slower. But the brain is still fantastic, obviously, and you're still smart. You still understand how the game plays. And I think that's a great example of Bomber. He's a smart player. He knows how to play the game inside out. He knows how to read opponents, and he plays to his strengths. And I think that means you can elongate your career by a few years. Who knows?
Yeah, the thing is, at the same time, as much as it's worked out for him, it can also be exploited, I'm sure.
Yeah, sure.
If some people realize that and try to use it against him, the thing is, he just executes whatever he does so well that even though you kind of know what he's going to do, it's just so hard to play
joking
against him.
aside, you're what, 28 now?
9.
29 now? Really? Wow.
And it's my birthday soon.
I know it is, yeah. Wow, happy 30th. It's going to be fun. But just joking aside, for now, you've had a very long and distinguished career in esports through Warcraft 3 and through StarCraft 2. You're still playing at the highest level. You're still reaching WCS round of 16 this year, of course, as well. So how have you adapted? Have you adapted? Has it changed things? What do you find harder?
Yeah, for me, it's very hard to keep on practicing a ton. So rather than playing a lot and kind of forcing myself to play, I turned more to studies. And I watched a lot of VODs and I studied build orders a lot more. Getting to cast tournaments also gave me an opportunity to watch firsthand what those players do and how they prepare at the same time. Talk to them a lot. And I used all of that experience with my minimal amount of practice to basically use some good builds in tournaments. And having studied my opponents as well really helped. So that's how I used it. And also, I guess, kind of like Bomber, I'm not that fast. So I guess the fact that I play Protoss kind of helps in kind of death bowling on 2 or 3 bases. And
there's so many jokes here
fights.
right now I could abuse. There really are. I'm thinking of all sorts of one-key approaches. And, you're going to use one key, right?
Yeah. My keyboard is actually a single button. It's
just
red.
one giant button that you could smash with your hand. Oh dear. Right, so we are into the map vetoes finally. Complexities QXC with Red Bull's Bomber going head to head. We're going to see Catalina and Foxtrot dropped out.
You want to try to guess?
Any major surprises? Nimbus should go here, Deadwing should go, and we should be left with King Sejong, Merry-Go-Round and Overgrowth.
Wow, you're a bit of a gambler, aren't you?
That's a huge gamble, isn't it? Look at him. Take Nimbus.
I'm really looking forward to the map rotation for the next season, actually.
Come on, Kevin. Get rid of Nimbus. Put us out of our misery. He's making
You're going to stick with Nimbus.
He's making it tense.
He heard you. He wants to prove you wrong.
Let's make it tense. Which map will he go for? It's a big moment for QXC right now. 4 maps to pick from.
Stop disturbing him.
Only one can go.
QXC, if you want, you can come here and take his mic away and make him stop. Because no player should have to go through this in this
See,
very
the funniest thing
moment.
is, Kev is used to being the one that trolls, so it's quite nice to be able to get our own back on him, just every now and again. In all seriousness, it is an important pick. Which is he going to go for? Is it going to be Nimbus?
Pretty sure it is. Oh.
What do you know? Call it. That was like the sickest call I've ever made. No, it really wasn't. So we're going to go for the 3 relatively straightforward maps. Actually, do you know what? Just statistically for you, of all the games that we've played so far, the 3 most popular maps are?
Well, King Sejong Station, Overgrowth, and then Merry-Go-Round or Catalina, where I played canonically.
Yeah. Catalina is the 3rd most popular map in the map pool right now of all the games that we've played so far.
You know, Bomber, even though he's great at TvT, I believe he lost his last match at BlizzCon.
Yep.
That he played in a tournament, unless he played another tournament I'm not aware of. He was going into the tournament with a lot of momentum, you know, as one of the big favorites.
Yes.
I want to say he kind of disappointed, but at the same time, I feel like that will be taking away from MMA. And MMA is somebody that just prepared very well and then who ended up doing the things he had to do to beat Bomber. So now QXC gets a shot at doing what MMA did.
Okay. Are we expecting a shock here? Or are you expecting a shock? Prediction time.
All right. I love both of these guys. I just want to say that first. Don't hold it against me, guys, if you watch the VOD. I'm going to go for QXC. I want to show my brother some love.
Okay, all right. Well, I think there's some brotherly love going on there, but that's fine. We don't mind that too much. The final game of the day is upon us in Group D. Enjoy this very, very excellent TvT with QXC and Bomber.
All right, final series of the day then to conclude day number 2 and find out the last, well, not exactly even the last spot because no one gets eliminated here. Everyone's going to San Jose. We just need to find out who's going to be in that winners match.
And, you know, no matter which way you look at it, you're going to usually have one outcome here, and that's going to be Bomber. QXC's trying to climb a huge mountain here, and not many people have done it. As Todd said on the couch, is that Bomber, over the last 1 month, 3 and now December, over the last 6 months has pretty much been undefeated in Terran versus Terran, aside from MMA at BlizzCon, who was on a roll. He was building momentum with every game he played until he reached where he did at BlizzCon. Bomber is an expert in this matchup, but on the flip side, QXC is very intelligent. He does his homework, and he has prepared ready for this matchup. He knows exactly how Bomber plays inside out. He's watched every game he's played recently, because I did have a moment to speak with QXC, and he kind of knows what to expect from Bomber. But at the same time, Bomber's a world-class player. He knows his games are out there. He knows what to do, so it may not be as easy as QXC thinks.
Hiding and shying away from the camera, I guess, for a second here as Bomber, as it is our last series of the day. So everyone's getting wrapped up basically here. And obviously on the other side of things, we have QXC, who, for me, recently, he's been, I would say, on the form of his entire career. He looked so good in his TVP, he looked so good in his TVZ. I haven't seen as much of his TVT as before, but if the other 2 matchups are anything to go by, he is on form.
The thing is with QXC is he has a lot of ups and downs in his career because he plays a lot or doesn't play as much. He generally just plays a lot of StarCraft, but it does have its ups and downs. He has a lot of momentum swings, has a lot of motivation swings. Currently, he's warming up. Just needs a couple of moments here before we can get into the game, as there was a little bit of an issue, but we'll give him a couple of moments as you can see him warming up. But let's talk about QXC. What was it, a month or so ago, maybe 6 weeks, he said that he was considering retirement. He didn't really know what to do with his StarCraft career. He was thinking about doing a lot more commentary, and then he said, okay, I'm not going to do any more commentary. I want to stop. I really want to do this. I'm going to give it one last huge umph in my career, and I'm going to give everything I've got. And it is definitely showing that he's putting in a lot of work recently. He qualified to play in this tournament through the American qualifier. He had an amazing run. He beat Huck. He came very close to beating Scarlet, and then he was able to beat Violet to qualify as the American player in this tournament. It was a huge, huge run. He's been doing and having other results as well. He's just really performing well, as you said. But now is the true task and the true test for him. But, you know, it's Bomber. It's the #1 ranked player of 2014 in WCS. He won 3 tournaments this year. You know, you're asking for it when you're going up against Bomber, and no matter how hard you practice and how hard you're improving, you're going up against this type of player.
Yeah, he is truly world-class indeed. But you're totally right with QXC giving it that oomph. I mean, even in the qualifier, he actually took the first 2 maps off Scarlet in that upper bracket winners match, and then unfortunately he was plagued with a few connection issues, etc., and that really did hurt him in that situation. There was a point where, looking at those games, he probably could have even taken the full 3-0 and gone on through in first place there. And imagine beating Scarlet in that position as QXC here, who it's Scarlet. So he is definitely in the best shape of his entire career right now. But
and
is
the
it
same
enough
can
to
be
beat
said
him?
for Bomber. The same can absolutely be said for Bomber. 3 big tournament victories this year. He won 2 Red Bull events, and of course he won the WCS Season 3 here in Burbank. I mean, he went in as the #1 player into BlizzCon. He advanced over Jaedong in the round of 16. He then went up against MMA, and on a different day he could have won, and he actually could have challenged for the title at BlizzCon. Bomber is so very good right now, both playing at their peak, I think we can say. But here at the Intel Extreme Masters, I mean, even if both players are still going to play this weekend, we are going to have a winner, we are going to have a loser in this series, and we've already seen the results of the previous game in this group, with Hero beating Super 2-0 easily. Hero is a huge contender for first place to rival Bomber in this group. Where does QXC fit into that puzzle? If he can beat Bomber, then obviously now he still has another shot. Even if he was to lose against Hero, he has another shot to try to advance through in second place. This is a very important game, and one of the biggest advantages that QXC has this is the groups have been out for a while now. He's been preparing for a week and more than that in preparation to play Bomber. If he loses this and then has to play versus Super and Hero, he told me before that he's prepared a little bit for Hero. He's studied some of his games, but it's not as much as he's put into Bomber. Bomber's fallen asleep. He doesn't really care about this game. Look at it. And this is a perfect chance for QXC to be able to take this one down.
Yeah, he's Bomber seems kind of relaxed. So for now, it's just a case of whether or not he kind of underestimates the idea of QXC. Overall, QXC comes in to this group arguably with not really too many expectations. When you go into a group with someone like Bomber and Hero, and then somebody else who was coming out of the open bracket anyway, who was no doubt going to be pretty strong, and Super is a strong player who unfortunately fell to Hero in that first series. It's always going to be very, very stacked. So QXC comes in, I would say, pretty calm, as calm as you can be, just saying, well, I'm going to give it a shot, and if I'm able to put my practice into focus and into execution, I'm going to do okay.
Well, let's hope he does here. Todd and Roddy have been pointing out that Rain and Hero are the players to beat this weekend, and I'm pretty sure if our little friend Nathanius was here, he'd be pointing at Bomber as a player to do incredibly well. His Terran versus Terran is excellent. He'd probably be focusing on 4GG as well, but Bomber cannot be counted out as a tournament favorite here. For him to lose in group stages is the biggest upset we've seen in a long time in StarCraft. I don't think we've seen a major upset, and for Bomber not to advance from this group stage would be that.
Yeah, it would be. It would be. All right, let's get into things then. Game number 1, as we have spawning up our top right-hand corner, is our red Terran. It is QXC, representing Complexity, the only foreigner in this group, as he goes up against a lot of Koreans, and one of those is down to the bottom left-hand corner. It's our blue Terran. It is Bomber, representing Red Bull, and previous WCS America champion.
Yep, and he is very familiar playing in this studio here in Burbank, California, as he's played multiple times throughout the year. And here we go, game number 1 of this. Can QXC bring down this titan of a player, Bomber? We're going to be seeing aggression. It's the nature of Terran versus Terran recently. It's all about these gas-first builds. It's all about getting the pressure and damage done down early, about slowing your opponent down, and then hopefully finishing him a little bit later off. And in this game, I think we're more than likely going to see that. If we don't, I'd be a little bit surprised. Bomber going to go that way. Likewise is QXC. Excuse me.
Yeah, and overall, I mean, when you basically try and rival someone like Bomber in this position, QXC has got to have some confidence in his abilities to actually apply aggression for going for this gas first build. Of course, you can have the other side of the spectrum, which is taking the gas first and then preparing for your opponent's aggression to get, so you're getting up to that starport quick, you're playing a more defensive build, getting a Viking, for example, etc. So maybe QXC will favour that route here against Bomber, who is so good on the aggressive stance.
Yeah, there is very many different ways that you can play this from a gas first here. You can play it in a single gas factory starport barracks type of drop, which then falls into an expansion. You can get that Cloak Banshee down to deal damage early. You can go for a Banshee into a tank push. Like you said, you can play for a Raven early to hope your opponent goes Banshee and then defend it to gain an advantage. So multiple different areas for you to choose from this position. So far mirrored exactly, but in a few seconds we will start to see a bit of deviation.
And we'll see what those are going to be in a bit. I still favour the idea of Bomber going for the aggressive stance. Maybe QXC resides himself to the more passive position here. But then in TvT now you get these weird situations where both players decide to be on the aggressive and they cross each other, everything crosses one another, and then all craziness ensues from that point on. Because right now QXC has a second gas coming in a little bit before Bomber here.
Yeah.
So he's going to have access to a bit more gas in that regard.
Yeah, should be Cloak Banshee from this position. Whereas Bomber, on the other hand, playing with just the single gas as described before. The thing is with Bomber's build here, is it technically can hit in before QXC has his Banshees up and out and ready to deal and play in this game. Imagine if Bomber drops this in as the Banshee's moving out. Then the Banshee has to come back, and then it's a weird situation because QXC's aggressive strategy now turns into a defensive one because Bomber's going to be a little bit faster out the starting block here. This could be a little bit interesting here for QXC. Neither player has scouted either, so they're completely in the dark. They could be doing the exact same thing for all they know.
Yeah, so we'll see if QXC is going to be able to really deal with that overall, as he does start his Cloak as well as Banshee. That's on the way now. And on the other side of things, Bomber's adding on his second gas, just to try and, I guess, catch up to that gas position in that regard. But again, he doesn't need to fully because it's all about this drop play that's going to be coming along here from Bomber.
So with with Bomber following up with the second gas here, he can very easily go into Banshee of his own here, or Raven of his own, depending on where he wants to go with this. But here we are going to see the Medivac move out. And as you can see, the Banshee's going to move, but where is it going to be when the Medivac hits the game?
Yeah, it could just completely cross. It really could. Depends on which angle he's going to end up taking. Looks like he's going through the middle, actually. So maybe with this...
if they cross paths here, this is good for QXC. He can bring the Banshee back instantly. And he will.
Wow.
I think he has to follow this back. And if he doesn't take any damage from this, the potential follow-up with the Banshees and Cloak could be pretty cool.
Yep. Of course, this for Bomber does buy himself a little bit of time to now prepare for that Banshee, which is always a little bit of a knock-on effect for him. So Missile Turret's on the way up, about to finish as well. And Viking is even out to try and pursue that. Without Cloak done just yet. It will be done in second, though.
Alright, so a little push here from Bomber, trying to bring down a supply depot. Great zoning with that Widowmine. Whoa, big hit.
Oh dear. Okay, that's really going to cause a lot of problems. He actually doesn't have a medevac out here, so healing up those Marines is going to be a bit of a hard time.
And then the Banshee on the other side of the map has also taken a couple of hits from the Viking in the middle. There's a turret there as well, so this is pretty good for Bomber.
I actually think that Widowmine went off and he picked up a load of the Marines to save them overall there. So even more little nice moves from Bomber, who is going to have to fend off this Banshee to start things off. But again, you know, the Marines are still dropping at this front and trying to put on some pressure.
Yeah, he's going to slow down this command center from being built. He gets the SCV here.
Oof. Oh, that Widowmine. So low, but it just barely recharges its shot now.
So a supply block here because he's lost the depot, and these Marines so very low in health. And Bomber's drop is doing much more damage than this Banshee has achieved. The Banshee's got 1 kill. The command center's pretty much finished, or at least nearly finished here for Bomber.
That was not nearly as nice a pickup as the previous one was from Bomber, but in the end, the Marines are still here, and that medevac can still heal, which is always nice. Gonna get out of there, realizing that Banshee does cause some problems. Even picks up the Widowmine. Very, very nice evacuation out there by Bomber.
Yeah, Banshee's going to be able to push this back now. There's not enough Marines here to deal with this. And
whoa!
Well, Okay, that was nice.
Yeah. He never lets up. He always just finds these small little incremental advantages, does Bomber.
Lots of small things have happened in this game that have given Bomber a lead. If you look at the units lost tab here, there's a bit of a difference. Considering it's just been small skirmishes, 700 worth of resources difference between these little fights that we've seen. Command Center's finished up here for Bomber. He's going for a third one behind it, as he has a Raven, Viking, and Tank, pretty much solidifying his position on his own side of the map here. And he moves into this next part of the game, the mid-game, in a lead.
Yeah, and we all know what happens when Bomber is allowed to go into the mid-game, which is a lot of macro focus and a lot of power up to max out, really. So QXC now has to kind of go toe-to-toe with that unless he wants to look for some aggressive path himself.
QXC's got to be also very careful at the same time. Because of the way that Bomber's been playing this out, he has a dominating air lead. He has 3 Vikings and this Raven, and now adding on Banshees. With 2 tanks and a few Marine support, imagine if he moves over to the other side of the map. QXC is currently relying mostly on Banshees. But if the Banshees are redundant, then what does he really have to defend some type of push around his natural?
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. He's actually trying to, once again, buy some time. He got a few SCVs down here, slowed down the production command center. The Banshee ends up falling, though, and that now gives him, if this one fell, it gives him so much freedom to do whatever he wants.
Yeah, if this Banshee dies, which is in a very sticky situation to do so, QXC's got to be very careful. I think we might see Bomber push out.
Yeah, he pushes it away for now. He even drops the scan, trying to get the kill. He knows that if he can get that, he will have a lot of room in the middle, but
look at this. This is brilliant here. He's going to add on a turret to defend his natural, and here comes a push. And this is a very difficult push for QXC to deal with. He doesn't even know this is going to happen. He may identify that this is a potential threat. He's trying to add on a reactor to his starport to build more Vikings. He knows that he has to really climb back up with his air count. And Bomber can siege up behind the mineral line on the third base. He could push the front because it's a widow mine, that's all. Another Banshee goes down here. QXC's in trouble.
Yeah, he is army supply compared to Bomber right now, or at least his army quality even. It's not really there.
He just cancelled a reactor on the starport to add on a Viking instantly. He knows he's got to be so careful. Bomber's going to swing around. He may try to siege up in that location I said before, just outside the natural around the third base. QXC's looking for it, and he doesn't want to give this position away, but are 2 Hellions going to stop it?
It's a really good point overall. I mean, Reactor's going to take a long time to actually make here. Bomber is even adding on another starport behind all of this, whilst adding on extra tanks to be able to try and solidify this position.
QXC doesn't want to lose this position. He's going to take the fight.
Yeah, the auto turrets have gone down. They try to soak up some of the damage here. Likewise, auto turrets for Bomber as well to soak up some, but the Marines were retained at the back for Bomber that get on top of these siege tanks, and he mows down this army.
This was do or die. You give away that position on your natural, you're going to die slowly anyway. So he put everything into it and thought maybe he should have brought SCVs if he was going to do something like this, but Bomber's pushed through. GG called. And a nice and easy victory here in map number 1 for Bomber.
Yep, very, very well done by him. In the end, I liked the ability of QXC initially to be able to hold off the aggression, but that Widow Mine doing so much damage to those Marines, making it really hard to push anything away from that ramp, did cause a lot of problems.
Yeah, this is where it all started and went downhill from. Beautiful move here from Bomber. Great zoning. The Marines move down, the Widow Mine comes up, and then you just lost everything. Those Marines are pretty much useless now, and he loses a depot. And then on the other side of the map, you had the Banshee going on and coming in that got 1 kill, and then he had to come back and retreat anyway because he was falling further and further behind. Bomber, in my opinion, got the better edge when it came to the 2 build orders. When I play this matchup, I gotta be loving the 1-1-1 single gas opener against Banshee builds. You put your opponent in a very difficult position to defend, and usually you put them behind as well.
Yeah, it makes you more versatile, I think, when it comes to the kind of build. Of course, Banshee, for me, all in all, is a pretty one-track mind. You know, you go for the Banshee, you're expecting SCV kills. If you don't get them, what are you really doing? Sometimes, of course, you can get a few Marine kills, and maybe the follow-up push later on can then do a bit more because your army supply is bigger, but it's not as versatile as something like the Marine, Widow Mine, Hellion, little pokes and prods that are very, very strong.
I think one of the scariest things right now that we see QXC really thinking about, and I really hope he isn't thinking like I am, is that what did Bomber, I mean, where is Bomber's weakness? What can I do in game number 2? Because to be honest, there wasn't really any. He just played amazing in every department in that game. His aggression was great, his defense was great, his follow-up push was great, his overall strategy was clean. It's very difficult to go from game 1 to game 2 when your opponent played so well.
Well, we'll see now as game 2 has loaded up and is good to go. Up to the top left-hand corner, really needs to claim back a game in this series. It is our Red Terran QXC, playing for Complexity. Getting a bit of a beating there by a Widow Mine. And then up to the top right, we have our blue Terran. It is Bomber, representing Red Bull, looking as good as ever.
Yeah, just looking like he always does. Mean and blue.
Mean and blue and lean and
Great.
brilliant.
Yeah. All right. Merry-go-round. Again, this map favors that aggressive playstyle. The wide ramp on the natural, the smaller type of map that it is, the base is not too far away from each other.
Yeah, it'll work out nicely if Bomber wants to go for that again. QXC opts to go for gas first as well as Bomber. This is just how this matchup nowadays is almost always played out. You very rarely see it go at any other way.
Yeah, so we're going to see a bit of I mean, there's nothing too much to focus on for the next minute or so. It really comes down to what is the next part? Is it going to be Banshee again? Is it, going to be like a 1-1-1 again here? I don't know which way they're going to choose. Does QXC want to try the same strategy again? Does Bomber want to, repeat what he did?
I think if Bomber repeated what he did would be really nice. I'm not the biggest fan of Banshees on this map because they just get stuck in some odd situations from time to time because of the barrier that sits behind the bases. But other than that, I do like the ability that that Bomber showed in the first game with the potential Widow Mine getting a really good detonation.
Well, of course, QXC just one of 3 non-Koreans in this tournament in the top 16 that we have. No players have been eliminated today, despite going through Group A to Group D. Having just every player play 1 game today, and of course on Saturday and Sunday we'll be continuing on and seeing the rest of it. But here comes the part of the game where you can choose the second gas or not.
And will they? That's the big question. Right now, nobody's really flinched. Nobody's made a move to go for one just yet. QXC may be looking at that first game and being like, well, okay, that 1 gas player was pretty cool, but Bomber is going to be the one to opt for a second gas in this game.
And QXC too.
Okay. So
yeah, I mean, it's Banshee versus Banshee, Banshee versus Raven, Raven versus Raven. These are the type of openers that you're going to see followed up like this.
Yeah. I like the more defensive Raven opener personally. I think that it provides more versatility in the end. You can even use it for a harassment technique later on if you find openers.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, the most common is Banshee. So we could see Banshee versus Banshee. Then it becomes a game of skill and speed. Who can actually attack and defend at the same time very well? I don't know. Well, I guess we'll find out here. Starport's coming in, and do we have the tech lab? Yeah, we do. Raven or Banshee? Let's find out. Is Bomber going to try what QXC attempted in the previous game here? Hellion is being made from QXC. Going to have a quick look on what's going on, and it is going to be a Raven from Bomber. And is QXC going to walk in with a Banshee here? Nope, Raven. Raven apiece.
All right, Raven versus Raven. I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. It means that the game could potentially go on for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But we also have Widow Mines being mixed in from Bomber, and I do like that as well. We've seen a lot of players, I would say like people like Paul, for example, actually just mixing them in, just walking them onto ramps that he may think that his opponent's going for. And
yeah, very defensive setup here from Bomber. Very defensive. From this position, there is a small gap there in between the barracks and factory, as Flo was showing us. But from this position, it's more than likely just going to be an expansion. We did see the reactor as the main difference between the two of them from QXC here on the factory. So he's going to be putting out Hellions if he wants to stick on that. No? Is he going to switch it up? Okay, so barracks is going to be put down there. So he's going to be going barracks, tank, and Viking, and then command center. And then on the other side of the thing should be very similar. Of course, QXC going to scout for the first time in this game, and he goes up after that wall's been removed. Has a quick look inside. Raven, command center, Marines. Looks like something coming out from that starport yet. Not too sure what that is. Could be a Banshee, could be a Raven. But this game will move on. This is the equivalent almost of a Sentry expansion in Protoss versus Protoss, for example.
Yeah, just a little bit more passive overall in this first game. Second game, I should say. But tanks are on the way here for QXC. Doesn't want to be taking any risks by the looks of things, and that comes at the advantage of Bomber now actually going for a second command center pretty fast overall.
Yeah. Bomber just completely on defense here. He hasn't scouted at all. He doesn't want to scout right now. He may scan soon, but he just says, okay, whatever you're going for, I'm ready. I've got my Raven, I've got my auto turrets, I've got 2 of them, I've got a Viking if you do go Banshee, I've got a tank on the way, whatever, it doesn't matter what you're going for. So at this part, Bomber will start to figure out, okay, he didn't go for anything early on, so this more than likely is going to be a Raven and expansion build, but he's not expecting what QXC is going for next. You don't expect this, and it is going to be this kind of drop that he's trying to play for.
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting this, but he's having a look around.
Good scout from QXC, very good scout. Sees the 3rd command center, sees exactly what he's playing against, and now it's up to him to see if he can make this work. Double medivacs worth of units. I'm not sure if he caught the edge of that. I think he caught the edge of the 2nd medivac boosting off.
That was really, really close.
Very close.
But overall, he's still in a defensive mindset. He's still situated on 1 base, and he still has a few Vikings here, which, unless point defense drone goes down, which is wasting the energy from the Raven, because you could be using it for something else, it's gonna take a while to really kind of crack, I think.
Is this going to work from QXC? If he does, if he plants these 2 tanks, gets turrets in support, maybe he can get, I mean, it would almost force Bomber to pull SCVs. Here's the scan, he's going to go in. Here comes the turret block, the turret wall.
That's nice. That's very, very nice. Let's see what you can actually do here. He already gets 1 supply depot for his troubles
He's challenging
overall.
that command center.
And
one of the tanks is in range.
Yeah, it's
Can he pull out in time? He's going to boost and maybe pick up if he needs to, but he pulls it around. He's getting to the SCV line. So far, so good for QXC.
If he can get a few more workers here, that'd be very nice. 1 shell goes on top of those SCVs even, and does a lot of damage, but didn't get too many kills. Here come the auto turrets here, though, from Bomber to try and clean up the situation. Pushes down 1 siege tank, gets a medevac.
So he killed 5 workers in this, lost a lot, but dealt a lot of damage. Unfortunately, couldn't get the command center. I would say that's a small victory. If he lost that medevac instead of Marines, he would have probably fallen behind.
Loses himself a Viking.
Yeah, at the moment, he's still got an opportunity to do damage. Remember, it's 3 command centers versus 2. He's adding on double more barracks. He's ranking up the pressure. He's really going for it now. He knows that Bomber's in a bit of a vulnerable state. His production's very late. He doesn't have that much because he's on 3 command centers.
Bomber's taking good precaution, though. Siege tank left in the main line because he knew that medevac had gotten away as nice.
Maybe drop on the siege tank. I'm not too sure what's best here.
That would have been a good move, I think, here to try and bring that down when it doesn't really have that much reinforcements.
And it goes down.
Gets it. Nice, really nicely done. The medevac, unfortunately, will end up falling to the Vikings, so these Marines are left here to be stranded, but they're getting a few SCVs for the troubles.
Yeah, very well done here for QXC. Very well done. And he's got to keep the pressure up. Remember, he didn't go for stim in this game. He's only got now just 2 tech labs coming on the barracks. If he can somehow plant another drop and deal more damage, I guess he doesn't necessarily have to do a lot of damage now because I think he's kind of gained a pretty good lead in this game. And it's getting more difficult. With Stim finishing up quite a few tanks, it's going to be very difficult to deal damage, and if he tries, he might lose stuff, which would push him further behind. I think from this point on, as you can see, a 4th and 5th barracks from QXC coming in. He's going to slow down for now, but he's building up a really large army. When his own stim and combat shield finishes, +1 attack, maybe +1 armor too, he's going to go crazy.
With the air position, though, that we're seeing from Bomber once again in this game, though, should QXC be a little bit scared about this push, considering that the stim is done here for Bomber as well?
Only if they were Banshees, because tanks should be enough to defend.
Okay, well...
He's got 4 tanks.
Yeah, if he puts these and plants these in a nice spot, he should be fine. He actually drops his scan, sees exactly where this army is.
Yeah.
And he needs to put himself in a good spot here.
Yeah, he's got to defend his natural and his main base, because there is a medevac to ferry units up. It's got to position this very well. He shouldn't lose in a direct engagement, though.
Auto turrets get dropped down to do a little bit of damage to those SCVs as well. This Marine walks down the ramp and actually spots a lot of these tanks that are on siege.
Really good, nice usage with his Raven there. He's following it. Here comes the siege into the main.
And that's well fortified, actually, well defended, especially that he still has air superiority.
He doesn't have control of the ramp with these tanks, and at the end of the day, he's only killing supply depots, so QXC's just got to stay calm. When Stim is done, he can fight this, but he's got to hold on for another 60 seconds. He cannot lose that tech lab with Stim, though. He cannot lose that. Remember, Stim is done for Bomber.
Yeah, it's in a very vulnerable spot. He might actually go for this, but again, actually a really nice movement up on the left-hand side there from those siege tanks by QXC to make sure he's protecting that infrastructure.
Yeah, this is a very cool game so far. Really liking this one, but QXC gets closer and closer to pushing this back fully once this Stim upgrade is complete.
Bomber was quite heavily supply blocked there for a little while, so it gave QXC an opportunity to kind of move up in terms of supply. Bomber now out of that and looking to continue on with this pressure, but QXC's buying the time.
20 seconds left before he could try to break out of this. Raven goes in again to try to slow Bomber down. If he breaks out of this and kills a lot of it, the counterattack is huge. But remember, the longer the game goes on, the better it actually becomes for Bomber because of the way that he has these 3 command centers and his production's actually starting to kick in. How is QXC going to engage this? It's almost time.
QXC, they're saving that siege tank as well, or saving it from taking quite a
Yep.
bit of damage overall. Very nicely done.
Here we
He actually
go.
unsiege. He's going to try and break out of here with his stim now intact. Actually, the Vikings land as well to try and push all of this away. He focuses down the siege tanks, though, does Bomber, and gets on top of a few of these barracks. If he can get reactors, that'd be a nice start.
If only there was a couple more medivacs here for QXC, I'm pretty sure he could just stim and go for the win.
Yeah, he's going to have to, unfortunately, sit back here. 2 reactors do end up falling. He's scared of those siege tanks on the low ground.
Okay, he scans and sees there's hardly anything there. He was a little bit unsure, and now he knows he can break out. He's going to stim down and go for it.
And those 2 siege tanks shelling away, getting a few Marines for their troubles, but it will be cleaned up. QXC breaks out.
At the same time, Bomber knows that a counterattack could come, so he's actually picked up 3 medivacs worth of units, and he knows that QXC is going to push out now. But the Raven is going to see this, but will QXC get back in position to defend?
He kind of has to pick up himself and go straight to there, boost or
maybe
something.
if he picks up all his units and boosts on top of this and clears this up.
But that's a lot. That's quite annoying. Those 2 siege tanks need to siege up here for Bomber.
Yeah.
He could get a pretty good trade here as well, though. There's not that many Marines in with this, as Bomber will push on top of this. And does he clean up as many siege tanks as he wants? He gets 2 siege tanks already, just Bomber. QXC also cleans it up as well. Yeah. So blow for blow, so back and forth here.
Absolutely. Incredibly intense game, and we're going to see this move on to the next part of this game. QXC has an upgrade advantage with his +1 attack and the +1 armor compared to Bomber, who doesn't have that yet. And QXC is throwing down a 3rd command center, but from this point on, he can start to get a bit more aggressive and start to push out, I would imagine.
Yeah. I think overall what's really impressive is that QXC is hanging in there. He's hanging in with one of the best of them in TvT. Yeah. He's, even in terms of supply, he's been able to break out of that little bit of contain that he had to deal with.
Oh, this is so big. Bomber, he's got all his army in there, and QXC saw it. He saw it. Can he boost in and try to get the medivacs?
Oh,
he shouldn't be able to.
Yeah, I think they're both going to have to just back off from one another at this point. Yeah. There's not much that can be done there once both of them have been spotted. But
the problem is the game's getting longer now, and this is where Bomber starts to gain his lead again. He's got the 3rd command center down, and this is a big problem for QXC. He doesn't have the same amount of income. Look at it to the top left-hand side. 600, 700 minerals more for Bomber for every minute that goes by. This is going to fuel his upgrades. +2 attack is on the way. +1 attack for his tanks, and he has more barracks.
Yeah.
QXC needs to do damage soon. If he doesn't do damage, this game, as good as it's been for QXC, and he has truly put up a good fight, is going to start to scale, and he cannot keep up.
Yeah, I mean, let's technically remember how late that 3rd command center was here for QXC compared to Bombers, who got it at the very beginning, so technically he even had more mules to his name during all of this. As the upgrade's dead even, there is a push forwards to the 3rd base. Siege tank there, but he's just looking for guaranteed damage. Some SCV kills where he can. Yep. Boosts and gets on out of there, trying to go to the main, but that is a trap.
Yeah.
No.
So far, QXC's killed 23 workers in this game. An absolutely fantastic performance when it comes to his harassment, but he knows the position he's in. He's going to push out now. He has to find a way, an area. And Bomber knows that as well. These players playing incredibly well. He's spreading out Marines, Bomber. He knows that if QXC finds a position on him and sieges up with a high siege tank that he's got, it's going to be hard for Bomber to actually defend. So he spread Marines out. He's seen where QX Army is. It's on the high ground just above the Zalnaga Tower, and he's moving accordingly. Very good play from Bomber.
Yeah, the repositioning is just going to hurt QXC here if he actually wants to try and push in against this. Not too much room for him to wiggle around there. It's going to be up to maybe even the drop on the right-hand side, but still Bomber has preparations involved. He already has sensor towers. He can push this away. The stim forwards just gets sacrificed there by QXC.
This game for QXC is like an hourglass right now because he doesn't have these upgrades. He's attacking into a siege tank line.
Yeah, he's really getting a little bit of desperation there to try and push on forwards. He's basically using the high count of medevacs as his air superiority.
I don't think he can break Bomber. Bomber is just showing his excellence in this matchup once again. And without the 2-2 upgrades, because QXC does not have a second engineering bay, he does not have an armory, he doesn't have the same amount of barracks, and Bomber has everything that QXC doesn't right now. QXC has the 30, has the position, he's not going to be broken, he's got sensor towers everywhere protecting his main and his 3rd, and QXC's edging forward, but in a couple of moments' time, when these upgrades complete for Bomber, he'll unsiege, he'll stim forward, and can probably clean this up.
Yeah, it really feels as if Bomber overall has just had the more
rounded
long-term build. He's going to push in with this and kill off a lot of the Marines on the ground as well, with those siege tanks falling. Excellent. That's just way too much there for Bomber.
Way too much, and to be honest, Bomber can start to push for the win. QXC scans in. He's put up a good fight in this second game for sure. Game 1 was a bit difficult, but now QXC has a big problem ahead. How is he going to stop Bomber from just taking this game away? He's marching through the middle of the map with a very large army. QXC's going for a counterattack. couple of tanks siege up and a couple of Marines come to defend. Those upgrades have completed now for Bomber, so he's winning these cost-efficient attacks, and that push is coming in. To be honest, I don't think it can be stopped.
Super strong at this point is this army. Doesn't want to push in too far. He sends one medevac forwards to see the full extent of his opponent's army, and that might give him a little bit of an opportunity to push forwards. That's a lot of Marines Bomber has.
And QXC so far behind. The second engineering bay and armory just coming in so he can move his upgrades. He's behind the Marines, he's behind the tanks. QXC is struggling. I don't know where he can try to get this back in. Maybe if he does some magical drops. Maybe if he can, find position, but the problem he's facing now against Bomber, who's got a large army, he must defend against this push, but at the same time, he also has to do damage. How do you do both at the same time with limited units?
Yeah, limited units, limited upgrades against your opponent who is currently scaling out of your control. Very, very difficult to find a hole here, a weakness.
Bomber's going for the natural. He's going to take the ramp. He's going to cut the bases up.
Yeah, he finds the weakness in the end with the one thing that QXC really needed to do himself. A lot of Marines died to the siege tank fire down to the bottom. And unfortunately, how does he even get up there? He's going to have to lift up, but the Marines could just turn around and gun down everything.
Beautiful position, controlling the ramp with his tanks to move in with the Marines to pick up the command center. Bomber just beautiful, and this is really what we wanted to see today from Bomber. Just good play and really telling everybody that don't just look at Hero to be able to advance in first place in this group. You've got to think about me as well, and he's definitely showing that today.
Yeah, didn't even break a sweat really in these later stages of this game. There you go, GG, as Bomber will take the series 2-0 against QXC.
Yeah, really cool series. I really enjoyed that one. Game 2 was by far my favorite, obviously. But Bomber just looking absolutely all-rounded there. The defense, the aggression, his build, his understanding of the game, when to push, when to move, his army positioning. Everything was wonderful there from Bomber. QXC put up a great fight in game number 2, but unfortunately it wasn't enough to overcome the #1 player of WCS ranking in 2014.
Yeah, a great fight indeed. That game number 2 there from QXC, it felt like he had several chapters, as it were, like chapter 1 of the opener, and then chapter 2, like of this story that he was developing, was really, really cool. And then when it got to like chapter 3, when the upgrades kind of stopped and Bomber was just continuing on, it felt like the kind of ending of a really good book that I didn't really want to end. But there you go, that's how the cookie crumbled.
And really unfortunate there, but just like I said, excellence from Bomber, to be honest. QXC, good fight. Game 1 was difficult. Game 2 was cool. But like you said, that's how the cookie crumbles. Bomber, excellent once again.
Yeah, so that pretty much actually wraps up the games for today. That is our final game of the day, with Bomber advancing on through to the winners match, which means now we have Bomber versus Hero in that winners match of just the round of 16 group, which is kind of cool to think about.
It's an awesome game. Looking forward to that one on Saturday.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So that pretty much does it from us here at the casting desk. Without further ado, let's head it over to Paul with the winner. It's Bomber.
Yes, thank you very much to all of our commentators today, to Todd and Nathanius, to Katz, Harston, and of course our final pairing of Apollo and Kalaris. We're going to end the day with an interview with Bomber. Congratulations, Bomber. A very nice win. Talk to us about how difficult it is, TvT, for you right now after coming back off of BlizzCon and playing a player who is renowned for his TvT.
일단 이제 블리즈컨도 지났고 이제 많은 대회를 이제 이게 마지막 대회잖아요. 그래서 일단 QXC 선수가 태태전으로 잘하는 선수이긴 유명한데 그래도 본인도 태태전으로 잘하는데 아무튼 이 경기 들어가기 전에 얼마나 자신감이 있었어요?
일단 최근에 컨디션이 너무 안 좋아서 크게 자신감은 없었는데 경기는 잘 풀린 것 같아요.
He says, to be quite honest, my condition, my play, not been my best lately. That being said, just today, I just feel like it went well because everything went according to plan.
Okay, talk to us about what you've been doing since BlizzCon. You said you're out of shape. I'm guessing that you've taken some time off and just chilled and what have you. But I mean, BlizzCon I know was disappointing for you, even though you did very well. But talk to us about what you've been doing since.
이해하셨어요? 블리즈컨 후에 시간을 어떻게 보내셨어요?
원래 블리즈컨하고 한 달 정도 대회를 좀 쉴 생각이었는데 한국 대회를 이제 바로 시작하더라고요. 그래서 좀 쉴 수가 없을 것 같아서 좀 많이 좀 걱정이 되고 그래도 연습은 조금 좀 다른 게임도 좀 하면서 히오스랑 하스스톤을 이제 새로 시작해봤는데 재밌더라고요. 연습량은 조금 줄인 상태예요. 좀 쉬려고.
So he says, after BlizzCon, I originally wanted to take like a month break or something, but I saw that the tournaments in Korea are actually starting very, very soon. So I'm a little worried about that. In terms of what I've been up to, I actually have been trying out some other games. Heroes of the Storm and Hearthstone, and I saw that they're actually quite a lot of fun. So as I've been trying out these games, I will say my usual practice time has shrunk like just
A little bit,
just a little
okay.
bit.
Just make sure you stay with StarCraft though. Don't do this to us, Bomber. Don't start now. Okay, so San Jose, big stadium this weekend. Looking forward to it. What are your thoughts on it?
제가 원래 아까도 말씀드렸다시피 좀 대회를 좀 쉬려고 했었는데 1월 달까지. 근데 이번에 IEM 산호세가 되게 좋은 경기장에서 하길래 가고 싶다 그래갖고 사실 지금 컨디션은 되게 안 좋은데 경기장이 좋아서 한번 와봤어요.
So he says, as I said earlier, I really wanted to take a break. I wasn't planning on going to any tournaments. However, I heard this Intel Extreme Masters is going to be at an awesome stadium. So I said, I really want to see that. And so even though I'm not confident in my play, not been practicing as much, I came just to see that stadium.
Okay, well, we're happy to have you with us anyway, Bomber. It's great to see you again as ever. It might not be in the best of shape, but he's still won his game in his opening match in Group D, and we will see him in the round of 16 again on Saturday in the SAP Centre in San Jose. That is it for today. Thank you very much to Bomber. Thank you to Sue as well, and to all the people that have worked on the show. We're just going to give you a quick wrap-up before we close the day. And what we're going to do is go through the groups and show you exactly what's been played out today. We've had two matches from each of the groups played. In Group A, we saw earlier on Rain going through 2-0, and True also winning 2-0 as well. And if we move on to Group B, we can show you what happened in that one. Rain and True, obviously, in that previous group. Revival winning his opening match against the odds a little bit there with a win over First, 2-1. Polt safely through 2-0 in his group. And as you'll see in each of these groups, we've only played the first of the games. Each of the winners moving on to the upper bracket final for a place in the quarterfinals, and the lower bracket, of course, having to win 2 games in a row. Group C, it was Symbol and Guio, 4GG going down, the DreamHack champion, and Hyun, also the second place player of WCS points in 2014, losing out to Gummio. And our final group this evening was where Hero dominated against Super with a 2-0 win, and Bomber likewise with a 2-0 win over QXE. Todd's back with me. Quick summary of the day and your thoughts on the play that we've seen today. It's a little teaser in a way to what we're going to see in the main arena at the weekend, and I think we've probably learnt a few things, not least of which is that Bomber's out of shape but can still play TvT no problem at all.
Well, we did a very good job of building up the anticipation going to the SAP Center in San Jose here. We're just playing one match. It's like, well, we know the winner's match, we know the loser's match. When do we get to know who advances now? Well, I guess there's a one-day break to think about it. So it's nice. There was a lot of quick games today. A lot of, when I say gambles, maybe it's the wrong word. A lot of chances were taken, and in the end...
But saying that, we didn't really see a huge amount of cheese, did we, today? I mean, a little bit from Hero, maybe, but not a huge amount. I mean, most of it was just, good games.
Yeah, I guess, that's what very high-level StarCraft is right now. There is all of this studying happening from everybody, and we try to counter the builds, and sometimes that means a little bit of cheese here and there, but sometimes that means just trying to get a good build order to counter the one of the opponents, just to set up some sort of timing attack later on, or just a good situation overall in a game. They decided to finish it early on. That will be, I guess, a very high risk, high reward, where if it goes wrong, you just lose instantly, aka, I guess, an all-in. So these players, they do a very good job of picking the correct builds, and sometimes for some of them, it just happened to go south because they got unfortunate.
I mean, we have to be a little bit careful here, and I think it's good food for thought for the future. Legacy of the Void on the horizon. We already know that that's quite likely to be a faster game because of the worker change and the mineral change, but it's starting to speed up in Heart of the Swarm as the game kind of evolves and matures, and it happened in Wings as well. It started to get faster towards the end as well. So we need to be kind of careful, otherwise we're going to end up with like 4-minute games in Legacy of the Void, aren't we?
Yeah. No,
Top
I
stick
don't know
kick,
why I
actually.
said
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. I could do that.
I'm picturing it in my head right now. I thought you were more saying that as the game is speeding up, or like the requirements in terms of speed are.
No, just that the players are getting more used to the Heart of the Swarm and the builds and what have you, and it seems to be finishing faster. And we already know Legacy. Do you think so, or do you think there's a trend?
I think no. I think we're gonna see totally different games and longer games later on in the tournament. It was just like it just happened like this today, where like players just kind of countered each other, and
we'll call it a bit of randomness.
Yeah.
So a couple of last questions just to wrap today up. Favorite match today? If I'm a StarCraft player and I wasn't able to, or StarCraft fan, and I wasn't able to watch today, what do I need to go back and watch on the VOD?
Well, it depends on what race you play.
Just a general fan.
If you play Protoss, definitely Rain versus Suck, and I was going to say that match anyway, even though it kind of bothered me to agree with Roddy. Yeah, Rain versus Suck. I learned a little bit. I learned that I'm actually really bad at StarCraft.
I heard you both say that, actually.
Yeah, it's crazy to see him do this, like hold the proxy the way he did it, and to think like I could never do that anyway. So why do I even try to learn? And I guess all we can do is enjoy the skill. That match was pretty cool.
Biggest surprise of the day? Was it 4GG?
Maybe 4GG losing to Symbol, who just surprised him himself, I guess, because 4GG didn't expect those rushes when CC first died, and maybe not on his
Symbol
game.
didn't even want to play a Terran either. I mean, we've heard him.
Well, I mean, we saw it in his games, that he didn't want to play a Terran, yes.
But he won.
Yeah, but I mean, the way he did it. Some might say he didn't win. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, the scoreboard says differently, and I think at the end of the day, that's all that counts. One final question on the whole of the games that you've seen today. Has it given you any better clue or any different clue than you had before we started the round of 16 on who might be the winner of the San Jose Intel Extreme Masters?
A little bit. You know, it's even though Hero performs really well in every Extreme Masters that he attends to, except Toronto, he always comes back into the tournament as one of the big names, but not necessarily the one, I feel, at least to me, that you look at as this guy who's going to win. And he had some very one-sided games against Super today. Rain also. It's even though I love Rain and I really like to watch his games and study from him, he's a guy that's easy to doubt. And he settled that very, very well today against Huck. Other than that, I'm not sure if Symbol's performance really tells us too much about what he might be like going to the rest of the tournament.
Okay, it's good. No, it's good. I think we've learned enough today. I think we've got a good idea of who might be doing well and might be lifting the trophy on Sunday evening in San Jose. My thanks to Todd and all of the guys on the show. We are coming to the end. Just a quick reminder for you as well. Earlier on, we announced a very big announcement for Intel Extreme Masters. Very proud of the fact that we're working with Newegg, and they've come up with a great idea to help fund some prize money into the World Championship, not the San Jose event, the World Championship in March next year. All you need to do, if you're in the market for a bit of hardware, maybe some headsets, earphones, whatever it is that you need, head over to newegg.com/IEM, and any of the products in that section will, when you purchase them, a percentage of those will go towards the fund for the World Championship Grand Finals for StarCraft 2 in Katowice in 2015. It's a fantastic way of you being able to help fund the tournament if you so wish. Make sure you go and support that. It's a great thing to see crowdfunding entering into StarCraft 2 tournaments. That is it from day 2, and thank you for joining us. I know it's been very late for some of you and very early for others, but wherever you are in the world, thank you so much for joining us on these last 2 days from ESL Studios in Burbank. We're now headed off to San Jose. 1 day break, of course. Tomorrow you get to catch up with your sleep. Make sure you're up bright and early for Sunday as we come live from the SAP Centre in San Jose. We'll see you then.